Lanchester Motor Car Limited was founded in 1899 in England. A bit of a side note, there's contradictions on what this starting date was. Some sources list 1895 as the start date. Either way, the company was started by three brothers, Frederick, George, and Frank Lanchester. The confusion with the date has to do with when the brothers started building their first car, which was in 1895. It was powered by a single cylinder, but this single cylinder was completely different than just about every other single cylinder you've ever seen. It had two connecting rods for each piston that went down into two separate crankshafts and two separate flywheels that operated in opposite directions, making for a very smooth running engine by canceling out all the vibration caused by the up and down motion of the piston. It's important to note that this engine was built for a car that was built from the ground up. It wasn't a horseless carriage or a wagon that was converted into a motorized vehicle. This was a purpose-built vehicle. A lot of thought and consideration went into the creation of this engine. The engine could be mounted transversely or horizontally. Most of the time, it was located in the center of the chassis. It made its trial run in 1896, but was considered underpowered. 1306 cc or 79.74 cubic inch displacement Lanchester single with the twin crankshaft, 1.3 liters. It was good for 5 brake horsepower, around 800 RPM, estimated 35 pound-feet or 47 newton meters, around 400 RPM, with a bore of 4 3/4 and a stroke of 4.5 inches. Instead of improving performance on the single-cylinder engine, Frederick would take the single cylinder and add another cylinder to the opposite end. Still used the twin crankshaft as well as the two flywheels that rotated in opposite directions. Pistons were cast iron. Two crankshafts were geared with each piston. It has 3 connecting rods for a total of 6 connecting rods. The center rod was a bit wider than the other two in this setup, with each crank pin carrying the center rod from the other piston. The other two narrower rods were from the opposite piston. It's a super unorthodox design, to say the least. The two cylinders fire in succession on the same revolution of the crankshaft, but with the next revolution of the crankshaft, they would receive no power impulses. It's almost like a hit and miss engine, only instead of hitting once and missing once, this thing hits twice and misses twice. And there's probably a few people sitting at home right now scratching their head wondering how this engine ran so smooth. It was a slow engine speed type of engine. 1200 was the red line. Crankcase is composite structure of steel plates. The two cranks were left exposed on the front side. The valves were mechanically operated, which was rare because most of the cars back in this time used valves that were controlled by atmospheric pressure to open the inlets. There was only one valve for each combustion chamber, serving as both intake and exhaust valve. The valves were operated by cams and roller rockers. The large mushroom valve, which opened both inlet and exhaust, was port communicated with the second chamber, which was a flat disc valve known as a crossover, which opened and closed the inlet and exhaust ports. The engine was cooled by air. More cooling vanes were applied to flywheels, 1 fan per cylinder. The water-cooled version came out in 1902 as an option. The second prototype engine was 2895 cc or 177 cubic inch displacement Lancaster twin-cylinder, twin crankshaft, balanced engine, 2.90 liters. It was good for anywhere between 8 to 12 horsepower at 800 RPM. Estimated 80 pound-feet or 108 newton meters, around 400 RPM. This engine would be fitted into the prototype car, which still exists in South Kensington Science Centre Museum, London, England. There's a bit of conflicting information as to whether or not this engine was actually produced and put into various cars. My understanding is they made 6 demonstrator cars with this engine. They deemed it to be underpowered, and then they went back and made a enlarged version, which was 246 cubic inch displacement. Lanchester twin cylinder double crank, 4 liters. It was good for anywhere between 10 to 20 horsepower. It made the 20 horsepower with the water cooled version at 1,000 RPM. Estimated 110 pound feet or 150 Newton meters around 500 RPM with a bore of 5¼ inch and a stroke of 5 11/16 of an inch. Years this engine was used, it's a bit blurry, but anywhere between 1901 through 1904. I'm not sure if Lanchester ever licensed the engine, but I was able to find another company that used a single cylinder that was very similar in design to the Lanchester engine. It was called Rotary of Boston, Massachusetts. They built cars from 1903 through 1905. Can you guys think of any other companies that used an engine similar to this? Put it in the comment section below. In 1904, Lanchester started getting into bigger and more powerful vertical engines, which led the single cylinder and the 2-cylinder variants to disappear. I hope you dig this episode. I personally love finding unusual, lost and forgotten engines and cars and technology pieces slash gimmicks and gizmos. I would love to see this thing run in person. Very different, unique concept. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather Veteran Edwardian Edition. Which one of these would you rather have? 1902 Franklin or 1904 Lanchester Twin Crank or 1904 Marmon air-cooled V4. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give both the name of the band, song title, and the song lyric that comes next. First person to do all three will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Santa came down the chimney, 3:30, bringing lots of toys for my baby and me. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this one. I love finding unique, rare, different types of engines and different innovations through time in the automotive space. What engines would you like to see featured on the channel next year? Put it in the comment section below. If it's really good, maybe I'll do it for December. Thanks for everything that you guys bring to this car community. We're going to be having a Reflection Live episode towards the end of the year. It's going to be after Christmas, but before New Year's. And we're going to talk about all the stuff that happened in the background on the channel, as well as stuff that's going to be happening next year. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. There's some really cool stuff happening. So, until next time, toodaloo!